Good evening. Welcome to the June meeting of the Salem Keizer Transit Board. This evening's meeting, we have several things on the agenda, which will include a presentation, followed by a budget hearing, and then we will deliberate on the budget hearing and make a decision concerning the budget. We'll have a period for public comment, and followed by the consent calendar, which basically includes minutes of our past meeting and some routine business items. We have two action items, a resolution dealing with the fiscal year 2017 adopted budget. It's an amendment, and also an approval for an advertising request for proposals. Then we will have reports and discuss management issues and adjourn. So with that, I would like to call the meeting to order and call on Director Hammill to lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. Please face the flag and join me as I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
Do we have any announcements or changes to the agenda? I have one small presentation I would like to add after item D. And I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome the rideshare companies to our city. Both Uber and Lyft started service this month, and that provides another option for mobility in our community, so we welcome that. And with that, I'd like to ask our general manager to introduce our presentation.
Thank you. So tonight we have Jeff White, who's the CFO for Marion County, but he's actually here in his role as the national representative for the state GFOA. And he's here tonight to present to the board our certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. That was easier during it when I practiced. So Jeff. Whatever you're comfortable.
Okay, I'm afraid of this right now. Thank you for having me here this evening. As was mentioned, my name is Jeff White, and I do currently work upstairs for Marion County as the Chief Financial Officer. I am here as in my role as the National GFOA Representative, which stands for Government Finance Officers Association, for the local chapter here in Oregon. The Oregon Government Finance Officers Association, or OGFOA, was founded in 1940 and maintains a membership of approximately 500 members from counties, cities, school districts, special districts, and other government entities, along with partners from associated businesses such as banks, software companies, attorneys, and bond underwriters. The organization was instituted to promote professionalism and excellence in public financial management through a commitment to the following four primary goals: fostering individual professional growth for government finance professionals, advancing the government finance profession, furthering standards and policies for the benefit of our communities and our members, and monitoring and reviewing legislative and judicial activities as they relate to our membership. OGFOA works towards those goals through providing training opportunities both at semi-annual conferences and via webinars, providing a committee structure for our members to participate in and address particular topics of interest. My specific role on the board, as mentioned, was to fill the national seat, which gives me the opportunity to present these awards on behalf of GFOA. GFOA, the national organization, was founded in 1906 and represents public finance officials throughout the United States and Canada. The association has over 18,000 members from federal, state, and local governments. Its purpose is to enhance and promote the professional management of governmental finance resources by identifying, developing, and advancing fiscal strategies, policies, and practices for the public's benefits. So tonight, I'm here to present an award to Chariots, Salem, Keizer, Mass Transit. I'm not sure which or all that goes together. This certificate, which you've received before, I've got a few little interesting tidbits about it. This program was actually started in 1945 to encourage and assist state and local governments to go beyond just the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles, to help them prepare comprehensive annual financial reports that would evidence the spirit of transparency and full disclosure. Reports submitted to, and the easier way to say it is CAFR program, are reviewed by selected members of the GFOA professional staff and the GFOA Special Review Committee, which comprises individuals with expertise in public sector financial reporting and includes financial statement preparers, independent auditors, members from academic institutions, and other finance professionals. In my opinion, this is the most difficult award to achieve from GFOA. The checklist that is used to ensure that you meet the GFOA requirements is 72 pages long. There are over 620 items that must each individually be addressed in your CAFR. And of those, there are 40 items that if any one of those is not correctly presented would disqualify your organization from receiving this award. That's a pretty tough standard to miss 1 out of 620 and fail. In Oregon, there are only a total of 115 recipients of the CAFR award, of which only 14 are in your category, which are called enterprise fund entities. This is the 5th consecutive year, is my understanding, that you've received this award and this recognition. And that award, with all those numbers aside, recognizes Chariots as a leader in financial excellence among entities that are actually eligible to receive this recognition. I'd like to make sure and recognize all those who helped make this possible, from President Krebs, you members of the board, Mr. Alan Pollock is the manager of Chariots, and Wendy Feth, who put some work into this, that 72 pages of information that had to be put together. It takes the entire entity to make this happen. All those people working together to provide an environment of excellence, particularly in financial reporting. And I would just like to say that the citizens of the Salem Keizer area, the writers and your customers should be proud of this achievement, although most people aren't very interested in the numbers. It does say that you guys are doing things the right way and better than just average. So congratulations to all of you. There is a certificate here. Up in your office is probably a nice little plaque. You get a little sticky medallion that puts it on, that has the year on it for each year, so you should have 5 of those now. So I'm not sure who I'm presenting this to.
Thank you. And we're sort of the figureheads, but the people who are behind the scenes and making this happen. That takes everybody along.
Thanks, Jeff.
It's just taking a while because I don't think the.
The board is happy to receive this, but it's really, the credit for this goes to the accounting department who, and the staff members who made this happen, and that's their diligent work, and we appreciate it as a board.
That's pretty nice.
And I have one added item. This will be the last meeting for Director John Hammill, and we're going to hate to see him go because he's been a real contributor to this board. He's also been a strong advocate for the disabled communities, supporting the Americans with Disabilities Act, and he has helped to make some changes in our operations to better benefit the people that need to use these services for the disabled. And so with that, I would like to thank John for his service on behalf of the board. And I would like to present you with this plaque in grateful appreciation to John Hammill for dedicated service and leadership representing Subdistrict 4. And this is as Secretary of the Board of Directors from July 2013 to June 2017. So congratulations.
Thank
We're
you.
going to miss you, and there is your plaque.
Okay.
I'd like to also acknowledge the gentleman who will be replacing John, and Mr. Doug Rogers, who will be joining the board next month, representing District 4. So, welcome. We're now ready to move into our budget hearing, and I'll turn it over to our general manager to introduce. This is the time on the agenda designated for testimony by anyone on the subject of adopting the Salem Area Mass Transit District budget for the fiscal year 2018 that was approved by the Budget Committee on May 18, 2017. And the board members have a supplemental package with the proposed budget. So is there anyone that would like to testify? Okay, we will close the hearing and go to deliberation. And,
Does Hirsch come up and say things?
okay, now,
Practice beforehand.
yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Hirsch Sangster. I had the honor and privilege of being the chair of the Salem Keizer Area Transit District Budget Committee. I had to get it in. President Krebs and members of the board, as chair of the Salem Area Mass Transit District Budget Committee, I'm pleased to present you with an approved budget for the fiscal year 2017 to 2018. And this budget had the full budget committee's approval and recommendation to adopt this budget. I want to go ahead and thank both the elected members and the appointed citizen members of the Budget Committee for their service. The attention to detail and insight of all the members made the process productive, efficient, and I have to admit we had some fun too. I would also like to thank General Manager Alan Pollock and all of his great and hardworking staff. The fiscal year 2018 budget for the district includes appropriated funds at $58.1 million and unappropriated and reserved amounts of $19.8 for a total of $77.9 million. The district's general fund budget at $27.2 million includes property tax revenues, fair revenue, and various state and federal grant sources. The general fund maintains, I want to underline that word, maintains approximately 169,500 vehicle revenue hours. It supports the continuation of the West Salem Connector and the 15X shuttle route between the airport, park and ride, and the Capitol Mall, while service to Grand Round community on the 2X will end. The Transportation Program Fund, budgeted at $18.7 million, includes state and federal grant funds and local contribution from the general fund as required by the federal law. The Transportation Program Fund pays for services provided by the district that are outside the scope of the Chariot's fixed route service. These services include the Chariot paratransit service, regional service, and the Chariot's call center, trip choice, transportation program coordination, mobility management, and transportation demand management. Resources in the Transportation Program Fund are expected to decrease by 7.1%. State and federal grant funds also provides for $12.1 million for a capital project fund. Major projects proposed for the fiscal year 2018, including a signalized intersection project in Keizer, at the Keizer Transit Center, and fleet replacement. The fiscal year 2018 budget allows the district to maintain existing levels of service. As a past board member who was on the board that voted to eliminate weekend service, this bothers me, but it is a good budget, and we'll work on the future to maybe get weekend service. This budget has resources to attract and maintain a quality workforce while the district collaborates with federal, state, and local partners to identify funding to support public transit and the infrastructure and the works toward more efficient and effective public transportation services. I also want to make one comment in kind of an area that I kind of get involved in, and this district really blew me away, is in your workman's comp and wellness for employees, that there was actually a decrease in the budget for those areas, which means you're doing some good work. So I want to make a good comment on that. It was a pleasure chairing the budget committee. The budget document was well organized. The print, I could read it really well, so that was important. And the staff presentations were very clear and very professional, and it made the whole job easier. And I thank you for your commitment and hard work. And again, I recommend the full budget committee recommend adoption of this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'd like to thank you and the other volunteer members that served on the budget committee, because without your help, we wouldn't have this budget before us. So.
Well, Linda and Bribe's really good with those cookies.
Well, that's good, yes. Cookies
works. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So do we have any discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the board adopt resolution number 2017-08 to adopt the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes.
Second.
We have moved and second. Any discussion? Director Kelly?
One of the things that I always like to, at the budget time, remind people is we have lots of different little things that happen that we run through our budget that are not necessarily items that could fund regular fixed route transportation. We have the ADA service, which is mandated in the same areas that we have fixed route, but we also have we run through our budget the transportation monies that are provided for outside of the district. And so when you look at the figures of the budget, that's not all for the Salem urban growth boundary. It includes other things that we do to accommodate a smoother moving, functional public transportation in the area. So just always like to remind people that the money on the paper isn't all money that can be spent inside this urban growth boundary of Salem.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Other comments or questions? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. So now we're to the period for public comment, and I don't believe anybody has signed up. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment? Seeing none, we will continue to the consent calendar.
Move the consent calendar approval.
I'll second it.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we'll move to the item, Resolution 2017-09, amendment to the fiscal year 2017 adopted budget. And I'll call on our general manager to introduce.
I should have stated earlier when I made comments that Wendy Feather, accountant, took ill today and could not make it. She could not make it to this evening's presentation, and we'd like to acknowledge and thank her for her work on the budget. She did the yeoman's work on that. And ably filling in tonight is Paula Dixon, Director of Administration, who will present the staff report.
Good evening, President Krebs and members of the board. The issue before the board tonight is whether or not to authorize a transfer of funds totaling $80,000 between appropriation categories in the fiscal year 2016-17 budget. Oregon budget law requires that the district budget be adopted at the division and fund level. As it stands now, it's currently projected that the operations division budget will be over budget by approximately $75,000 due to higher than budgeted fixed route personnel expense. In addition, the communication division budget is under budget, allowing the capacity to transfer $80,000 to the operations division budget to provide the needed funds. It's not increasing the amount of the budget, it's just a transfer within the budgeted levels. Any questions?
Any questions? Do we have a motion? Director Kelly.
I move the board adopt resolution 2017-09 that amends resolution 2016-05 to authorize a transfer in the fiscal year 2017 budget of $80,000 within the general fund from the communications division budget to the operations division budget for unbudgeted personnel costs.
I'll second that.
That's been moved and second. Any discussion or comment? All those in favor? Oh, Director Kelly.
At certain levels, the budget committee would have had to have been reconstituted in order to do fund transfers, but this falls under the limit of the budget committee having to be reconstituted in order to do this. This is for the budget that ends June 30th, not for the projected budget for 2017, 2018.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we have another action item, which is approval of the advertising request for proposals.
And Patricia Feeney, our Director of Communication, will present the staff report.
Good evening, President Krebs and members of the board. The issue before us is, shall the board authorize the general manager to negotiate and enter into a contract with Stott Outdoor Advertising for commercial advertising on district property? As you know, we did send out a formal RFP in February, and we received 2 proposals. Those proposals were discussed at 2 of the board work sessions, May 8th and June 12th. The review committee met at critical junctures throughout the process, and the scoring, based on the 4 criteria for scoring, the Stott Outdoor Advertising scored the highest, 73.63 out of a possible 100 points. An intent to award did go to Stott Advertising on June 13th. And so next steps, upon authorization by the board, of course, the general manager will complete negotiations with an intent to sign a contract. Our recommendation is the staff recommends that the board authorize the general manager to negotiate and enter into a contract with Stott Outdoor Advertising for commercial advertising on district property.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Do we have a motion? Oh, Director Hammill.
I move that the board authorize the general manager to negotiate and enter into a contract with Stott Outdoor Advertising for commercial advertising on district property.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we'll move on to our, thank you. Move on to our committee reports. And Our first report comes from the Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee.
The Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee's work for the year has been completed. We did not meet this month. Next meeting is scheduled for September.
Okay, thank you. And the Mid-Willamette Area Commission on Transportation, Director Kelly.
So while we did not meet in May, we did meet in June, and we had a lot of presentations on issues affecting the entire transportation system. First, we had a critical, well, we didn't have them in the order of the agenda, but we had a critical rural freight corridors presentation from Scott Tornoy from ODOT, and a discussion about sidewalks in the ADA transition plan report from Lisa Strader, who is with ODOT. There have been changes in compliant curb ramps and pedestrian signals, and ODOT wanted to share their experience and share with local entities the lessons they learned from their experience in making sure that the current ADA ramps and pedestrian signals, including when things are under construction, are met so that entities do not get sued. So I was happy that there were people from the city of Salem there, because they do a lot more construction than we do of those transportation. We had a presentation on the Oregon Public Transportation Plan, which is out for review and will be being adopted eventually by the Oregon Transportation Commission, and Jean Palmentier did that presentation. And we had an additional discussion on what then was the transportation, the big transportation bill that is hopefully moving through the Oregon legislature by Mike Jaffe. He had shared with us many parts of that plan prior to the meeting. As all pieces of legislation, it sort of is a moving target, and we are hoping very sincerely that this plan moves through the Oregon legislature, because it includes dedicated funding, a dedicated funding source for public transportation for the first time in the state history, I believe, for all local transportation districts. So it was a very fact-filled meeting with very little need to make decisions, except for listening and adopting the minutes of the prior meeting. But a very good meeting all around.
Thank you. And the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments.
Yes, we had a very busy month, and we meet quarterly, and of course, this month, we also had our budget meeting. So I've done about 4 or 5 budgets in the last couple of weeks, so that's kind of interesting. And they vary in size by a whole bunch. Anyway, we did the budget committee and then executive committee meeting, setting up the meeting, the regular board meeting. Then we had the regular board meeting Tuesday, and we had a presentation on serial meetings. I'm sure Ben probably is familiar with what a serial meeting is and the Oregon meeting laws. Anyway, it was interesting, I guess, to say the least. And we approved the budget at that board meeting also. So it's
Thank you.
and then I had a meeting with the new executive general manager over there, executive manager.
I've met him too, and he seems like a nice
He's
fellow.
a great guy. We were real fortunate to have him.
And my 2 assignments did not meet yet. The SCATS Salem Keizer Area Transportation Study Policy Committee meets next week, and the Oregon Metropolitan Planning Organization Consortium will meet the first Friday in August. So those are our scheduled meetings. So we'll move on to reports and call on our general manager.
Great, thank you. So, yesterday, along with Directors Krebs and Kelly and Linda, we attended Jeff Ham's retirement from C-Tran, previous Chariot's general manager. Great event. I'll defer my comments and let the board members talk about it, but I was happy to be there to wish him well in his new chapter in his life. Last week, the Salem City Club had their annual meeting, and I had the great fortune of being re-elected president for another second and final year, and they know it's final. Just a reminder, July 4th holiday is before our next meeting, so there'll be no service on that day. So we made comments earlier, but I'd like to formally thank Director Hammill for his service on this board. He has helped make this community better from a transportation perspective, and I thank him for his service.
My pleasure.
And I'm sure we'll be seeing you again real soon in another capacity.
Right.
And Director Kelly talked about the transportation package, and so by the next time we meet, we will know whether we have a package or not, and depending on the timing of that, because in the last few weeks everything changes, we'll see if we can't get Dale Penn here to give an update from what he knows on the package at the work session. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. On my report, basically, I went to Jeff Ham's retirement party. In case some of the new folks here don't know, Jeff Ham was our general manager prior to Ellen coming on board, and he was here for 7 years, and many of us worked with him in various capacities, and he has been at C-Trans, which is the Clark County, Vancouver, Washington transit system that operates in Vancouver as well as into Portland and other suburban cities. And we went to his retirement party yesterday, and he was well appreciated up there and roasted a little bit, but you could see that people are going to really miss him because he's a real advocate both regionally and nationally for good transit services. So we enjoyed that. And some of the other things I did I did a couple of neighborhood association meetings. I attended the Chamber of Commerce President's Breakfast to honor the outgoing and incoming presidents of the Chamber. And I also testified on House Bill 2017, which is our transportation bill, and did a number of other things, like I was interviewed by CCTV concerning options for transit and so forth. But that was my experiences this month, and probably we'll have more in the future because it was a little light this month, not as many meetings. So I'd like to call on Director Thompson for his comments.
Well, unfortunately, I had to miss the Jeff Ham's retirement. He and I go way back from the first. I first came on when he was and went through his hiring process. So that's how long I've been on here. I'm sure Marcia will tell you that she's been here for a lot longer than that, and that's true. So I went through the regular meetings that we had as a board, and I did go to the SEDCOR lunch, and it was a presentation on the housing availability in the Salem area, and it's pretty bleak, actually, if you want to downsize, like some older folks in the group here might like to do someday. The houses aren't available to downsize to that are in a range, a price range that are available. But it was a very interesting talk, and we'll see how everything goes. And that's about it.
Thank you. Director Kelly?
Well, I missed the May meeting. It's, I think, the second board meeting, maybe the third board meeting I missed in my tenure, because I was taking transportation options in New York City and in Western Pennsylvania and in Baltimore because we were celebrating college graduations for nieces and nephews. So I took buses, subways, heavy rail, one taxi, and we rented a car when we were in Western Pennsylvania. So I think I did the scope of everything. Unlike our my relatives, Victor's relatives, we didn't avail ourselves of Uber. But that did mean that I missed, as well as the board meeting, the last budget meeting, but I did make the work session and the first budget meeting. And then I made the June work session. The retirement party for Jeff was fun, and they had a timeline of things that happened all the way through his tenure for 10 years, including the Columbia River crossing and lots of things that were momentous for the Vancouver-Clark County area. And he seemed to have made a niche in the community. During that same time frame, however, his wife Diane developed breast cancer and subsequently died. He is remarried, which is really a good thing to see. He seems very happy, and he's living in Lake Oswego and taking transit to get to see Tran in Vancouver. So that means a few little hops around, and so he has his little hop pass, which is I believe, a seamless fare between TriMet and C-Tran now, which is fairly new. So it was nice to see that there are some things that are happening that way. And I think probably the most touching thing about the retirement party was after all of the hoopla and all of the formal speeches, there was a young woman who was in uniform for probably being either on the janitorial staff or the maintenance staff, who presented him with flowers just very, very quietly, just because she wanted to bring something herself. And so I think it really said a lot. Yes, we did go back a long ways. In fact, I think I credit myself with the hiring, because I was the one who said, you know, that guy, it doesn't cost a lot of money. And there's that guy from up in Port Townsend who really answered good questions. He didn't look great on the video, but he answered questions really well. And we ended up hiring the closest to and probably the best fit for Salem Transit in that hiring decision. So Jeff was the 4th general manager that I've worked with. Alan is the 5th. I'm hoping that I don't outlast Alan. So please advocate for the transportation funding bill.
Thank you. Thank you. And Director Bush.
Okay. Good evening. June was a busy month. I attended the work session and the board meeting, and did several things with Keizer Chamber. One of was attending the luncheon, which was the Marion County, State of Marion County presentation by 2 of our commissioners. That was pretty good. I went to Bonaventure's grand opening. It's almost 50% full up there. I did several things with the city. I attended city council meetings, a coffee with Kathy, and I actually attended a City of Salem strategic plan open house at Broadway. That was very interesting. Did a few things with our neighborhood association, Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association, and because of all of the things our association has done with Weddell Elementary, the Salem Keizer Public Schools gave the association a certificate of thankfulness for it. Got to attend a school board meeting, my first ever. It was pretty interesting. I went to the first hearing on the Joint Commission on Transportation and sat with Dale and Alan and listened to everybody, and then watched a lot of hours on the CCTV, the recordings of the other 2. I was able to go to Senator Wyden's town hall when he was in town, and that was very enlightening. I got to meet Bill Burgess, our Marion County elections clerk. Is that his title? Mm-hmm. Had a good conversation there. Sat with Lorna Adkins for an hour, and we discussed a scavenger hunt project for Salem Keizer Transit Center for kids to come do, or homeschool families, and find out about the sustainability of that project. So that was rather interesting. And then yesterday I went to the Keizer Chamber's Government Affairs Committee and got all up to date on the different bills. And they shared, here's my letter. There it is. Shared the letter that they put in for our low-no grant application. And highlighted in bold is, Salem Area Mass Transit District is important to members of the Keizer Chamber of Commerce as it helps our customers get to our businesses. And they did a very nice job of praising us to the Honorable Elaine Chow of the U.S. Department of Transportation. So, good month. Thank you.
Thank you. And since this is your last meeting, you get the last word almost.
All
So
right.
Director Hammill.
Appreciate that. Well, in addition to the usual schedule of things that we do, as I'm transitioning out of the Transit Board, I'm becoming more active with the American Council of the Blind of Oregon. And this spring, that the House Bill 2017, the transportation package, has been a high priority for that organization as well. And we've had a number of meetings in the last, during this month, including on Tuesday was our legislative day at the Capitol. And we had 7 people there who advocated for every senator and representative for the passage of the transportation bill. So it was, I think, on the whole, a good month. And a peculiar thing has been happening. I also spend a lot of time at the Center 50 Plus out on Portland Road. And over the years and months, it turns out now that Thursday just after lunch, there turns out to be a little transit roundtable that I find that I'm hosting. So, there's a lot of folks. The disabled, the elderly are very keen on this transportation bill. It will make a big difference.
Thank you. Is there anything else for the good of the order? I think have covered our agenda. And just might say a few words about the transportation bill. It's a statewide bill, and it will not only affect Salem Keizer Transit, but it'll affect transit districts all over the state. And so it'll mean better transit service around the state if it passes. And with that, if there's anything else, then we will declare the meeting adjourned.
I made it by 7:30, Marcia.